Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My stepsister was my best friend. We're the same age and have done practically everything together, including moving abroad after we graduated for a year. I met Luca there, and we had an on-again, off-again relationship at his discretion. My stepsister was a big fan of Luca and constantly encouraged me to give him another chance whenever he came sniffing around, mostly because he had access to a lot of exclusive parties and events, and my stepsister loves that lifestyle. At the time, I didn't make the connection that her encouragement was self-serving and thought she was looking out for me. Eventually, we had a pregnancy scare, and Luca's reaction was like someone had finally thrown a bucket of ice water over me. I realized everything in our relationship was on his terms, and I didn't want that anymore. The problem is that I have a very hard time saying no to him. He would click his fingers and I would go wherever he asked me to. He would tell me to jump, and I would, etc. I knew the only way the cycle would end was if I completely cut contact. I changed my number, deleted all my social media accounts, and moved. I asked all of my friends and family to tell him they didn't know where I was or how to contact me because I knew I would fall for it again if I ever saw him. To cut a long story short, he came to my house 3 years later and I ended up pregnant. I remember when I found out, I was crying my eyes out to my stepsister. She was the only person I told. Yet, Luca showed up a few days later demanding to know why I hadn't told him first. After some arguing, he admitted my stepsister was the one to tell him where I lived and that I was pregnant. He got her invited to some dumb boat party in exchange. My family tried to minimize everything when I confronted her. After a lot of arguments and anger, I decided to cut them all off. My daughter just turned 1, and she's never met any of my family. They've tried to reach out to me in the past, but I always just block them. The reason I'm posting this is because Luca and I were talking about it a few days ago, and he made a comment about how I was so quick to forgive him, but I could really hold a grudge when it came to my family. Honestly, the conversation made me feel really bad, and I feel like maybe I overreacted. At the end of the day, my stepsister was the one to betray my trust, not the rest of my family, but now it seems like I'm unfairly punishing them too. I'm not sure if reaching out to them now is a good idea though. I don't think I want to talk to my stepsister, and I'm concerned they'll expect me to forgive all of them or none of them. I do miss my mom though, and I would like for her to meet her granddaughter. She doesn't use social media and I deleted her number, so I'm not sure how I should go about contacting her. Please help on if I should get in touch and how I should go about it. Your sister sold you out so she could go to a party? That's low. Sis needs to stay on the fringe unless she's grown up a lot. Who knows what sis will do in the future if she hasn't grown up? Your parents you should reach out to. They probably at least want to know you and your child are okay. A grandchild is a powerful thing. They may be willing to do anything to see the little one. I'm going to be completely upfront and say I don't like my stepsister. I'm polite to her for our parents' sake, but if they ever divorced, I would happily never speak to her again. My husband knows all about our history and knows why I dislike her. So, a few days ago, my parents had a small anniversary party. She had on a nice bracelet and my sister complimented it. She casually goes, "Oh, thanks. My husband bought it for me. He has really good tastes." I was fuming, but I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing she had got to me. So, I chose to take the high road and just agreed that he did. When we got home, I questioned my husband on it, and he shrugged it off like it was no big deal. He said it wasn't a gift, that she got it when we all went shopping during a vacation, and he felt obliged to offer to pay for it because he had paid for my sister in front of her previously. It turned into an argument because he felt like I was making a big deal over nothing and that I should just forget about it. When I asked him how much it cost, he kept telling me it didn't matter. It kept bothering me, so yesterday I checked, and it was expensive. I brought it up again to my husband, and he got uncharacteristically angry at me and asked me if I was trying to imply something. He said that just because I can't accept nice things without thinking there is a hidden agenda doesn't mean other people can't. Even when he eventually calmed down, he did apologize, but is still refusing to talk about the gift. I'm still upset about it, but he just wants to move on. Should I just drop it? How can I bring it up without making him defensive? Also, is it worth talking to my stepsister about? Since I feel like she also should have had the decency to mention it to me. If I was having an affair with my stepsister-in-law, there's no way I would buy her something expensive that she could flaunt in front of her relatives. And if I did, I'd certainly expect her to keep quiet about it. The fact that she didn't indicates to me that she's trying to score points, and that there's a good chance what he says happened is true. I have an ex who I share a 2-year-old son with. We dated very briefly, but broke up before I found out I was pregnant. My stepsister and her daughters, 5 and 7, moved in with me 6 months ago because her husband is divorcing her. We've never been that close, but our parents put a lot of pressure on me to let her move in, since I was the only one who had space for her. Ever since my stepsister has moved in, she's been super invested in my life and has been acting out of character in general. I thought she was trying to bond with me since we were never close growing up, but now I'm not sure. Usually when my ex comes over to see our son, I try not to hover so they can have their father-son time without me getting in the way. My stepsister has never met my ex until she moved in, but I've noticed she always hangs around when he's here, and they have hushed conversations which always end when I walk into the room. My stepsister was a stay-at-home mom, so has no income, and has been complaining she's short on money, so doesn't contribute to the household at all. However, I've noticed she's been receiving a lot of luxury goods since December. Since they've moved in, money has been tight as all of the bills have increased by a lot, and my stepsister has asked to borrow money from me several times too. So I will be honest and admit I was furious when I started noticing what I thought she was spending her money on. I finally cracked and said something to her a week ago. At first, she claimed her ex-husband was buying them for her, but that didn't make any sense since he was the one to initiate the divorce, and she's the one who has been begging for him back. In the end, she admitted my ex was buying them for her, but refused to tell me more. Here's the thing. I don't want to give my ex the satisfaction of asking him about this. I know he'll assume I'm jealous, and he'll probably love that. The only reason I'm making this post is because my ex has been trying to get back together since he found out I was pregnant. And I was finally considering it since he really did seem genuine, until this. Now, I feel like I need to know if there's something going on between them before I let myself get hurt. So, how do I find out if my stepsister won't talk, and I don't really want to ask him? Also, if something is going on between them, how can I stop that from negatively impacting our co-parenting relationship? Time for stepsister to go. Not your problem that she doesn't have any money. She should be getting child support and alimony from her husband. Time for ex to go. Trash. To start off, my husband is graduating from officer candidate school in 2 weeks. He's been gone for 6 months. He was home for Christmas for 2 weeks, and I've been a stay-at-home mama to our almost 2-year-old little one. I've been blessed to be able to be at home, but single parenting is no joke. I've mostly been in it during a pandemic. Anyway, he wasn't able to have guests at his graduation from boot camp, BCT, but he is able to have 2 adult guests at his officer graduation and 1 minor. I actually didn't hear this from my husband. My mother-in-law saw it on Facebook. I don't have social media aside from Reddit. And it was for a graduation that took place last month that the base where he is at was beginning to have in-person guests. Only 2 guests and 1 minor, and tons of COVID restrictions. I brought this up to my husband last month, and he said that it was likely they would be allowed 2 guests and 1 minor. But that they weren't quite sure yet, and they wouldn't know more until closer to graduation. When we talked about how it might be difficult for me to travel with a little one, that little one wouldn't sit still during the ceremony, COVID, etc. I also had a possible surgery I was having, but I ended up pushing it back to when my husband returns for training for 16 weeks mid-July. Okay, so flash forward a few weeks ago, we talk about graduation again, and he says he invited his dad and brother, that they were getting a hotel and attending his graduation. I didn't ask why his mom wasn't going. I just figured, okay, 2 people are allowed per candidate, so he invited his brother and dad. I tried not to be upset because we were actually never formally invited. It was almost like my husband was coming up with excuses as to why we couldn't go. Flash forward to today. I asked my husband if more than 2 people were allowed for the graduation, as of now, 2 weeks out. And his response was, "Yeah, only 2, but I might be able to get tickets. We will see. My friend is only having his wife attend, so he has 1 ticket available." Then I said, "Oh, okay, that's cool." I told him that my neighbor, who is former Army, asked me today if we were going to husband's graduation, to which I explained to him that they are only allowed 2 people and that husband's brother and dad were going. I told my husband I was pretty bummed because I keep getting asked about his graduation. He instantly got upset and told me I had no right to be upset because I had chosen not to attend. Hello, you never actually invited me, but I can't say that because he claims he did ask me. Then he goes on to tell me that his mom and sister are both also going. I was like, wow, okay, that's cool, but in my mind I was floored. Then he went on about how they just want to support him and that he hopes he can get them all tickets, but he was just upfront with them about not being 100% sure he would be able to. Nonetheless, they are flying out 2 days before and then staying 2 days after graduation to hang out as a family. You can imagine how I feel at this point. Then my husband tells me if I want to go now, to let him know, so he can let his mom and sister know to cancel. So you're going now, so I can tell my mom and sister to cancel, because I know how you get around my mom and them. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Just keep shoving that knife deeper, will you? I don't even address his single-snide remark because he has hardly ever assigned responsibility to his family for our strained relationship, and he constantly pins me as the bad person without acknowledging all the hurtful things they've done to me. Not even worth arguing about. So then a short time later, we speak over the phone, and then he tells me just to come and that I can hang out with his brother outside and tour the museum, which left me to the assumption, so if you're only allowed 2 people inside base for the graduation, you're not picking me, I'm assuming? I then politely asked him if me and the little one can book our own hotel room, since I'm still breastfeeding with my little one, but also because I often change my tops a lot, etc. I obviously wouldn't be comfortable sharing a room with his family either, but I didn't mention that. He was upset and said we would all have to share a room, same flights, etc. Then the topic was dropped, and I was left feeling like my husband is a piece of crap. I don't even know how to express how hurt I feel. Sure, he eventually invited me, but after I brought it up and I felt bummed out. I've never felt more like an afterthought. All of his friends' wives are going, and his entire immediate family is going. Surely he didn't tell his friends that he actually didn't invite me. I'm assuming he told them that I did not want to go. I spent the entire afternoon crying my eyes out. He's going to be home soon, and I couldn't be dreading it more. First, you're his immediate family. Second, I think you should be super clear and direct. Hey, I was planning on going to your graduation, but you gave away your tickets before confirming that I wasn't going. Please check next time before deciding for me. As your wife, I want to be there. Your child should be a part of this awesome accomplishment. We are your family and should always be first on your list. If we aren't, then we need to go to marriage counseling. I am hurt that you invited your mom and sister before you checked in with me about the extra tickets. When you do that, I feel like we aren't a family. Update. My husband passed his final exam today, and he's definitely graduating next Thursday. He asked me today, after informing me of his passing, if I would still like to attend his graduation, that he could still try to get an extra ticket. I would be the 5th ticket. I had my mother ask on the company's Facebook if extra tickets would be available, and they told her this morning that it is still only 2 guests per candidate, and that isn't changing anytime soon. They also said that issuing extra tickets was not allowed and will not be happening. Candidates are not actually issued tickets. Each candidate provides the base with their guests' names, and in order to get on base, you must be on that list under the candidate. I informed my husband of this, and he insisted that there was a loophole and that he was going to add his 2 extra guests onto another friend's list that is not utilizing their 2-guest limit. I told my husband if me and my daughter would be able to be inside of the graduation, then we would love to attend, but that I was not okay standing outside of the graduation while all other spouses, children, and family were able to partake in the graduation. What I really wanted to say was I would be embarrassed and saddened if your parents and siblings were in attendance and me and little one waited outside, but I held back. This was his response. I can probably do that, Just need to ask who else is not going to use it. Let me ask today. So he's already given his 2 for sure tickets out and secured a spot for his 2 siblings via another candidate. Really feels like I'm 5th in line to the throne here, and I really do not want to go. I think this day is best enjoyed if he enjoys it in the company of his family. You have to have a conversation with your husband. Don't let him gaslight you. Ask him point blank if he did not want you and your child to be there in his graduation, and why were you not invited? Why were you not considered to attend his graduation? Tell him what you really feel. If you're way down the priority ladder, then sorry, his family will always be his number 1, not you and your child.